Hi there, this is Gary Dranow from Park City, Utah. Welcome to the Gary Dranow Show, coming to you from YouTube and radio stations across the nation. Come hang out with me and my guests while we talk about music, life, and reality. Hey everybody, welcome to the Gary Dranow Show on All Things Music with Gary Dranow. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. Attorney, educator, author, Sirius XM radio host, and one of the strongest advocates of independent creators in the modern music industry, Ryan Kairalla. Ryan is the host of Break the Business, heard on Sirius XM 145 and major podcast platforms, where he empowers artists to understand the realities of today's entertainment business. He also is the author of Break the Business, Declaring Your Independence and Achieving True Success in the Music Industry. And you know what, Ryan? I need to read that. So welcome Ryan Kairalla onto the show.
Excited to be here, Gary. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So Ryan, let's first disclose our relationship. Ryan is my entertainment attorney and has been for what, 2-3 years?
It's about right. Yeah, we've had a nice little run. It's amazing how quickly the time flies when you work with great clients.
Yeah, I owe him money, which I'm going to make a dent on the end of this month, hopefully. Ryan, was there a specific moment when you realized entertainment law was your calling card?
Yeah, it actually happened pretty young for me. I've always been interested in the arts. When I was in school, middle school, high school, I did all the art stuff when I was in school. I was in the school rock band. I was in the drama club. I was in the school rock ensemble.
Wait a minute. Hold your horses. You were in the rock band?
Yeah, our school had what was called a rock ensemble.
What did you play?
I very poorly played guitar, and I even more poorly did vocals.
Well, sounds like you're right up my alley, man.
Well, all right. I mean, it was a great experience for me, and it taught me two things very early on. One, I was probably never going to make it on the music performing side of the entertainment industry, but it also taught me really early that I really cared about the other artists I work with, and I was pretty good at reading contracts and understanding the business side of things. And so even at that very young age, I learned early on, like, perhaps I could really make a go of being on the business and legal side of the industry, helping these creators that I cared about so much.
Do you have any famous clients?
I mean, other than you?
Other than me, yeah.
Sure. I work with a lot of folks in the industry. If you Google my name, you'll see some of the clients that I pop up with. Usually when you Google my name, you'll see the recording artist Pitbull, who I work with here down in South Florida. Yeah. A lot of other names in there. Oh, for sure. Although, I mean, I'll even be the first to admit, though, like the artists I like working with most are the independent artists. Not that I don't love working with big names, but the independent artists create the most interesting challenges for me. I usually get to do more things for those artists. And so those are the folks that have a special place in my heart. Not that I don't enjoy working with the top shelf people too.
Well, with your help and God's good graces, even though I'm an atheist, but somebody up there's got to be looking over me. Hopefully I'll make the big time before. I got 20 years left in my life, Ryan. That's about it. I'm currently dealing with my 100-year-old mother's move from Beverly Hills to Heber City, Utah, and it's been 6 hours a day, 9 days in a row, and tough gig.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a really challenging adjustment for her. A lot of attorneys approach entertainment strictly from legal standpoint, but you clearly understand the creative mindset too, like you do with me. How important is empathy when working with artists?
I would say empathy is an important skill for lawyers, regardless of the area you practice, but it's particularly critical when you work in entertainment law. The clients you have in the entertainment field, these are people who feel all the feelings and are going through really powerful, difficult times in their life. It's not easy being a creative professional. And so you need to have a lawyer who is empathetic to that, who understands the creative mind and the creative experience and can practice empathy when interacting with clients. It's something I try to do every day in my work.
Well, and you have been so very empathetic with me. I must say you are a artist at it. I'm going to take a little left turn. Let's talk about today's music industry right up front, and what the challenges independent artists face in today's music industry, and
Well,
also let's slash AI into the whole thing too.
oh, sure. I would say that never in the history of the music industry has it been more challenging to be a creative professional, but also has there never been more opportunities as a creative professional, particularly in the range of what it means to be an independent artist. 20, 30 years ago, being an independent artist meant the best you could do was just sort of sell CDs out of the trunk of your car or sell
Yeah, yeah,
records or
and
tapes out of
merch,
the trunk of
right?
your cars. But now every creative professional, no matter whether you're the big time artist or you're just starting out, has access to worldwide distribution, worldwide promotion. It's cheaper than ever to make music. And that can create some exciting opportunities too. But it's challenging because you have access to a worldwide audience, but so does every creator. And it can be hard to press
Get
forward and
above the
hard to cut
noise,
through the
huh?
clutter. Yeah, cut through the noise. And certainly AI presents a unique challenge because it is democratize things even further. I mean, somebody like me who has an infinitesimal amount of talent can, go into an AI platform and create a song that's not the greatest song in the world, but I can create an average song that could compete with average artists. I tell people that AI still can't write a song as good as Ed Sheeran, but it can write a song as good as or not better than something that Ryan Kairalla could write. And that wasn't true 5 years ago. And it creates a lot of challenges for independent creators.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty amazed. What I use Suno for, I know all the platforms, but Suno is the one that I've chosen to use for my production company. Is I will feed it literal guitar ideas or full guitar and vocal ideas, and what it does, it gives me options and arrangements that I may not have thought of on my own. So it's a valuable tool,
Mm-hmm.
and I see it as a tool that modern young musicians should avail themselves of. I don't think it's a poison pill.
I don't think so either. I try to be optimistic when it comes to any new technology that comes into the entertainment industry. And to me, AI is no exception. I think if used the right way, if you learn the tools well, AI in the hands of a creative person can make them more creative. It can allow them to reach new artistic heights. It can allow them to explore their art in interesting and unique ways. And like any technology, I think it can raise your game and you
And it
shouldn't be afraid of
does.
it.
And it does. I've got a couple songs that I'm working on. What I do is I work out something with just me and Suno,
Mm-hmm.
and then I bring it into my production company. And I've got a world class guitar player in Chris Zupa. Unfortunately, my other world class guitar player who lives in Ukraine has been uh, pulled into the army, so I've lost him until the war is over, which is just terrible. But uh, so we dissect what we get from Suno, and some of the guitar parts that I'm playing now, I never thought of. It's just it has a very interesting approach to the guitar, and as you probably heard, Ryan, some of the guitar parts and some of the songs you may be fooling around with are actually pretty good.
I have no doubt. And for somebody like you who is a creative professional, you can then take that output from the AI that you fed to it and then use that to come up with new ideas and create something new. It's a creative iteration that you can have with AI. I know some folks who are authors who, whether, fiction or nonfiction, who say that they use AI in a similar way, where they wouldn't necessarily have AI write a full novel for them, but they can use AI as sort of a creative sounding board where they give it some ideas, the AI gives it ideas back to them, and they use those ideas to come up with new thoughts. I even had a novelist tell me that they like to use AI to kind of like role play with their characters, where they will have the characters talk to each other, where the author is playing one character, they have the AI play another character in the novel, and just have them talk to each other
Wow.
and explore an idea. And sometimes the AI will help stir ideas in the author and, create things that they wouldn't have otherwise created without the AI. And I think that's an incredible act of creativity, right? That's not AI substituting for human creativity. That's AI inspiring human creativity.
Well, like I say, you could make music with AI, but the soul is still yours, and um, that's uh, that's got to be true today. Because if you use completely AI generated song, the soul's just not there, and I don't think I don't think it's ever going to be there. I'm and I draw the line at lyrics. I do not use AI for lyrics at
Mm.
all ever, and I don't even want to see what AI lyrics are like because I don't want to get hooked on something. But uh,
I think that's a good approach. And I've listened to a lot of AI generated music because I have like clients send me stuff, or like I see stuff on the internet that people make. And while I think that a lot of purely AI generated music is cute or amusing, I've yet to hear a piece of AI generated music that I'd want to listen to more than once. Like I say, okay, this is interesting, but I can feel the lack of soul in it. But I think if a human works with this technology and the human soul can be part of it, I think it is possible to create something that, could be the sort of art that other humans are going to enjoy.
um, I agree 100%. You graduated from NYU School of Law. My manager taught songwriting at NYU for 20 years, Larry DeVoskin. And
Oh, very cool.
for
Probably at the
all of
Tisch
you who are,
School or Steinhardt.
I don't know, but for all of you that are listening, and you too, Brian, check out his Wikipedia page. It's nuts. Um, um, but so you graduated from NYU School of Law and received the Jack J. Katz Memorial Award for Excellence in Entertainment Law. What did that experience teach you about the industry?
Well, I was really grateful to have gone to law school at NYU. Being able to go to law school in one of the big entertainment hubs was really helpful for me. I took a class at New York University, specifically in entertainment law. It was a small group seminar. There were only about 10 of us, and it was taught by these two day-to-day practicing entertainment lawyers. And it was the most important course I took in law school because it wasn't just theory and textbook stuff, right? These were actual working lawyers who got to bring us in on real world matters that they were working on. And that was such a useful experience for me. And, getting to do stuff like that, getting to write articles in copyright law as a law student, as I did, and the networking opportunities that I got there, it was really, really instrumental. And, I'm very grateful to have gone to that school.
Yeah, well, and you're esteemed. When young musicians first enter the business, what are the biggest misconceptions you feel that they may have about success?
Wow. I mean, to only pick one or to
Well,
try to
pick many.
to
Take
try
your
to narrow
time.
it down, right? I think especially nowadays with the viral platforms that exist out there, I think a lot of artists still believe in this idea of a big break, that all they need is one thing to take off, one thing to go viral, and they're set for life, and all the opportunities are going to come their way. And I think now more than ever,
That's not the way it works, though.
that not certainly not anymore, right? Particularly now with platforms like YouTube and TikTok, it's easier than ever for the algorithm to pick you and make you the flavor of the day on that platform, and you get lots of views and people are really excited about your stuff, and you get a lot of interest from fans, and then it can go away. Forget about 15 minutes of fame. It can be 1 minute of fame. And
All right.
you go right back to where you were before, and everybody's forgotten about you because there's a new flavor. And so it can't just be about chasing virality, because you can't make a sustainable career out of virality. It is still a matter of building it slowly, building that fan base slowly, investing in those fans, creating that strong, that 1,000 fans giving you $100 a year kind of fan base to give you a stable foundation. And you don't get that by chasing virality. You get that only by just the day-to-day grind.
Have you heard of Modern Musician and Street Team?
I those don't ring a bell off the top of my head of those publications.
It's not a publication. It's a guy named Michael Walker who's built a application that helps you funnel fans into an email. I wish my phone would stop dinging. I'm gonna turn my ringer
You're an
off.
important guy.
Yeah, I'm an important guy. You got it. Ringer is off. So, anyways, he created a application, an online application that has a funnel that fans fall into, and they end up on your email list. And for instance, as I've departed from them because they, whatever, I still ended up with a 5,500 person database to reach out to, and as you say, it's your first thousand people to give you $100 a month starts to pave the way, right?
Or a year. I mean, if they're giving you $1,000 a month, even better.
What did I say? What did I say?
I think you said 1,000 fans giving you $100 a month, which if you get there, that's great.
No,
But
no, that was right. That's what I'm thinking.
1,000, I mean, that's 1.2 million a year gross. So, 1,000
Well,
fans, $100 a
that's
month.
where you need to be.
I mean, that's where I would certainly root for all the artists to get to. Yeah, I think it's amazing how much that stuff matters, and a lot of the younger kids don't realize it. Right? They think of an email list and they think that that's something that's out of the Stone Age. Like, no,
No,
email lists don't matter. What matters is how many followers I have on social media. But followers are, they come and go. They're not really sticky, devoted fans. But if you have an email list, if you have that, that real list of fans that belongs to you, right? That can't go away if
and then
you know,
engage, and then
right,
engage.
and they engage, right? The conversion rate on email is much higher than the conversion rate on social media, and you
Yep.
don't own the fans when they're followers on social media. If that app disappears tomorrow, you lose those fans. They can't necessarily migrate somewhere else. And so email lists are important, and creating a good marketing funnel to turn those moment to moment followers on social media
Into
to
super
email
fans.
addresses to super fans. If you can get a good funnel going, that's the real secret to sustainable success.
Ryan, let's talk a little bit about Spotify. I recently wrote a song called 0.004. I think you know what that's referring to. Well, let's talk a little bit about what Spotify has done to the independent artist.
Yeah, it's troubling. If you had the CEO of Spotify in here, they're going to tell you that streaming is a win for artists. That they're going to point to all these use cases of artists who make a lot of money on this platform, and how you can get a worldwide audience through Spotify. But as your song notes from its title, right, it's very hard to pay the rent 0.04 cents per stream at a time. And there's just no other way around it. Like, if you can sell one CD at $9.99 a piece, that's equivalent to way more streams than I can possibly calculate in my head. And so more than ever now, recorded music, the actual recorded music product, has gone from being an actual product that you can sell and make money off of to basically just a commercial for you. It's a loss leader. It's a way for people to find out about you.
Right.
And then maybe you can translate those listeners into people that you can, get to give you money on Patreon or buy your merchandise or see you live in concert. But, the actual music is not a product anymore. And I think for a lot of artists, it can be hard to create a sustainable career with that reality.
So what is the way out of the trap?
I mean, the
You know,
way out of the trap
I think we already covered it, but let's cover it one more time.
yeah, it's building super fans, right? Unless you are one of these,
So a
Pitbull, Ed
hundred super
Sheeran.
fans is worth 10,000 followers on YouTube, probably.
Yeah. And it's worth an incalculable number of streams. Unless you are one of these big time artists that's on the Billboard Hot 100, you're never going to make enough money from streaming to pay the rent. So your Spotify has to be the way that you can start to funnel those fans, make them enjoy your music enough that when you
Ryan,
come to town to tour, they
how?
watch you perform live.
But the way Spotify built their model, there's no way to know who you're. Even when you get in the analytics and you see, okay, I've got 500 super fans, you don't
Mhm.
know who they are. You don't know how to reach them.
No, certainly not. And I mean, Spotify is getting a little bit better with its analytical tools, but it's still, not giving you what you need. You cannot base your whole funneling and marketing operation based on your Spotify metrics. Spotify is just a place for your music to live where people can find it and listen to it. And it's nothing more than that. Unless you are, getting millions upon millions of streams, it's not a revenue center for you. And so you have to invest in the other ways to accumulate revenue. And you have to decide what that path is, right? Are you a live performer? Are you live streaming? Are you doing merchandise? Are you a crowdfunding expert? Are you focusing on sync licensing, putting your music in movies and TV and video games? You got to figure out what that looks like, because it's unless you are Billboard Hot 100, you're not going to find a sustainable career path from just Spotify royalties.
Well, and I have found a avenue using YouTube and building a YouTube channel that is not entertainment based but is educational based.
Mm-hmm.
While sprinkling my music in there, my live streams, and certainly my music videos and whatnot. Um, but I would caution, and I think you would agree with me, any young musician to think that they can have a YouTube channel that's based strictly on entertainment, because I don't think that'll work. But what I was going to say is, I've got businesses like my school, SKOOL, my music community, that I certainly am able to monetize through my YouTube channel.
Yeah. And education is a great path for a lot of creative professionals. I mean, if you are the sort of person that is comfortable being on a stage and performing in front of people, you're probably going to be the sort of person that is comfortable doing YouTube videos and teaching lessons and things like that. And so I know a lot of creative professionals who are able to segue into doing some kind of education role. I think of musicians like Ari Herstand, for the example, who's basically the king of this. He is an amazing independent musician, but he also has the blog Ari's Take, where he gives people advice about the music industry and advice about being a better artist. He's written a book that's very, very popular. He's got this blog, he's got this podcast. And so he was able to leverage the education side, take what he knows about the industry from being an artist.
Well,
And
what's his name spelled out?
Ari Herstand, Ariherstand.
I'm going to have to look him out and maybe get him on my show, for Christ's
I'd
sake.
strongly recommend it. I've had him on my podcast a couple times. He's great. He's got great stories. And as you can imagine, he's excellent in front of a camera because he does a lot of educational content.
Good. Well, send him my way, Ryan.
You bet.
Um, uh, my phone is just blowing up today. I don't know why. Um, there's
And
something. Go ahead.
no, I'll just say this about the education piece as well. Um, it works for a lot of artists because that's the reason why a lot of people still come to YouTube these days. YouTube is a great platform to be entertained. There's a There's an endless supply of entertainment content, but a lot of people come to YouTube to learn. I mean, how many times, is something broken in your house and you want to know how to fix it because you don't want to call a plumber, you don't want to call a
Yeah,
repair
and there's
person,
YouTube
and there's
videos
a
on
YouTube
exactly
video
what
for
you
it, right?
need.
So a lot of artists come to YouTube to learn more about the industry. And if you can be the source of information because you know these things, because you yourself are part of the industry and you've learned these lessons the hard way, there is value you can create in spreading that knowledge to others. And if you learn how to leverage it the right way, perhaps even revenue opportunities as well.
Well, I can tell you from experience that's absolutely true. Um, uh, there's something I love about your philosophy. You talk about independence not just financially, but creativity. Say it for me.
Creatively?
Thank you. Emotionally too, and emotionally too.
Yeah, absolutely. That to me, that's one of the most alluring things about this. I mean, controlling your professional destiny also means controlling your creative destiny, and I think that's so critical. I mean, in the old days, in the label days, where if any kind of success required being signed to a label. In addition to that being often professionally damaging, because sometimes those labels don't pay very well, it's also creatively damaging. When you sign a label deal, what you are mainly signing is a contract that says you can record for that label and only for that label. You can't
All
record
right,
anywhere else without their
and then you got to
permission.
deal with the AR guys.
And you
So
got to deal with the A&R guys. And you don't get to control how else you put yourself into that world. You don't get to control the message of what it is to be an artist. And if you decide one day, I don't want to make an album right now, I'd rather do this other creative thing for a bit, the label's going to have a say about that. But being independent means you get to decide what your creative destiny is. And maybe you're making music now. Tomorrow, maybe you decide you want to have a YouTube channel and just make a little bit of music. And now you want to be a teacher. And now you want to be an actor. And now you want to, make jewelry in an Etsy store. And you can control that destiny because nobody's telling you what to do.
yeah, and it's endless.
And
I
it's
mean,
absolutely endless.
and that's the lesson I think that should be gotten across to young talents coming up is that there are many ways to monetize your career. It's not just and as you said, the big hit, the one hit wonders, they go back to obscurity. So you've got to find another way to build a sustainable income, and you know how to do that. Someone can come to you and learn, which I think is really cool.
And
Is
pivoting isn't just something that is a good thing to do. It's going to be a necessity, right? Technology is changing so rapidly, and the way that people consume art is changing so rapidly that the way you're doing things today is going to look pretty different than the way you're doing things 5 years from now. And what you're doing today is going to be very different from what you did 5 years ago. And that doesn't mean you're failing or you're doing something wrong. It just means you're changing with the times
you've got to
and meeting your
evolve.
fans where they are. You got to evolve.
Is there danger in artists tying their self worth to streaming numbers and social media? I mean, we've talked about this, but people get hung up on the metrics, and I think there is danger there.
Absolutely. And particularly because there are so many cases out there of people that are making really great financial success and they don't have the numbers because they are maximizing the quality of fan base over quantity of fan base, right? You don't need millions of fans to pay your rent if you have a small number of fans that are incredibly devoted to you. And for me, I have found that the independent clients I have that are the most successful are not the ones that are chasing making the number big as big as possible. Instead, they're trying to grow their audience, but they're also investing in the audience they have and trying to turn a fan into a super fan because it's a lot easier to develop the fans you have than to try to go out and acquire new ones and to turn those into super fans. And so, there are a lot of folks who are making a lot of money in this industry and you wouldn't recognize them if they walked down the street. Which to me, I think is an exciting development because, like, I think for a lot of musicians, they might be intrigued by the idea that, like, oh, I can make a great career out of this, and I don't have to be a highly recognizable, visible figure. I can make money, and I can still like go out and eat lunch and not get mobbed. Like that's an exciting prospect, and that's
Yeah,
only able
yeah,
to
with
happen
a
because of the
little
industry we have now.
anonymity.
Yeah.
uh, uh, what separates artists who endure from artists that briefly trend? And again, we're touching on kind of the same thing we've been talking about, but let's dive a little deeper.
Grit matters, and business sense matters. I think there is a minimum threshold amount of technical skill and creativity you need to have as a artist to be successful, and it's not as much as you'd think. And what really matters beyond that is whether you have those other skills. How good your business sense, how good is your creative critical thinking, marketing skills, and most importantly, just how much grit do you have? How much difficulty are you willing to shoulder? How many
How
lean
many
weeks,
times
months,
can you
years
hear
are you willing
no and keep
shoulders?
going? Yeah.
Yeah,
So how many? Yeah.
and
Um,
and I bet there's so many creators out there who don't make it, and it's not because they didn't have the skill. It's just because they got up one fewer time than they needed to,
right.
and they were
Get
right on the
knocked down and get
precipice,
back
and they
up.
just missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, this is where a lot of artists get intimidated coming into your world now, Ryan, is contracts, publishing, copyright, licensing, sync licensing. Uh, but understanding these things can literally save a career, I think.
Oh,
Or
no
having
question.
someone in your corner like you that is an expert in it.
Absolutely. And you don't have to know all the law as a creator. In fact, like that's what lawyers are for. But the more that you as a creator can at least start to develop a spidey sense, if you will,
Uh-huh.
for when you see a legal issue that makes you go, oh, I should talk to an attorney about this. That can make all the difference in the world. And so when somebody puts a contract in front of you, when somebody starts talking about licensing or copyrights or tries to engage your services for longer than just a gig at a bar for one night, you get a lawyer involved in there. And and yes, lawyers are not free. I mean, although there are some pro bono options out there through like volunteer lawyers for the arts if you really are indigent. But I mean, the cost of not hiring a lawyer is so often much higher than the cost of hiring one, and you don't want to walk into some of those deals without representation.
Well, you have a different approach from any attorney I've ever worked with, where I could pick up the phone and call you for 5 minutes and I don't get a $500 bill. Um, and I'm saying this so my listeners that are musicians who want to reach out to Ryan, I will have his information in the description below. But he's one of the fairest attorneys I've ever met. So you get a bang for your buck with Ryan.
That means a lot coming from you. Thank you. I think that the lawyers who get into this line of work, specifically working with independent creators, you have to meet them where they are. You cannot treat them like a Fortune 500 client. You can't just run the meter as high as it can possibly go. Artists need lawyers who are willing to grow with them and understand their situation. If you're going to get into this line of work and help this particular population, you have to be able to appreciate that.
Have a little empathy, yeah.
Yeah.
um, what's the single biggest mistake independent musicians make when signing agreements?
I mean, not having a lawyer
And not having a lawyer,
is
absolutely.
is the biggest pitfall. Like I mean, so much of the work that I often do is cleaning up a mess that an artist made for themselves because they walked into something without a lawyer and now they're in a tough spot. And it's to me, it's sort of like, going to see your doctor for a regular checkup versus waiting because you don't want to pay your copay to go see that doctor. you do your regular checkups. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but ultimately it keeps you healthy. And if you don't get your regular checkups, your small health problem could become a big health problem. And then you need a much more expensive doctor to treat that problem, maybe even a surgeon. It's the same thing with lawyers, right? If you go visit a lawyer like me while you have a small problem, i.e., just somebody puts a contract in front of you, I can make sure that contract doesn't become a big problem for you later, such that you need a much more expensive lawyer, like a litigator, if you end up in a lawsuit, and then you have to deal
God
with that.
forbid, yeah.
Yeah, and that's certainly not any kind of fun. But I mean, generally, when you see agreements that start to go after your intellectual property, like a traditional record deal where the label's going to own all of your masters, that can be something that comes with, or that just comes with exclusivity, where you can't make music for anybody but that record label. That's always something that's a red flag, is when somebody starts messing with your ability to create, and somebody starts messing with the actual stuff that you create and your ability to own it. That should be just like blinking red lights, huge red flags. I should be very careful about entering into this, particularly if it's multiple years, and I need to get a lawyer to walk me through what I'm about to sign up for.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just going to ask you, are there clauses in contracts artists absolutely must understand before signing anything? And having a lawyer will certainly save you having to know that, but there are
Mm-hmm.
things you should know, like owning your masters or
Yeah.
exclusivity or
Yeah. Copyright assignment clauses, work for hire clauses, which both operate to say that the things that you make, you don't own, somebody else owns.
right.
Exclusivity,
Yeah, I know all
that
about that, Ryan.
yeah. Exclusivity, where you are basically saying that somebody else controls when you get to make art. The length of agreements are scary, right? Where you might think, okay, it's a record deal and it's a 3 album deal. Okay, so if I want to get out of this deal, I'll just make 3 albums right away. I just one, two, three, bang them out in a weekend. But you usually can't do that, because the label gets to decide when you make album number 2 and when you make album number 3. And if they decide we don't want you to start album number 2 right away, you can get stuck in a deal for years and years, basically on ice, not being able to create new music because
Well,
the
and
person who
and
owns you says you can't.
and record labels like to record in big recording studios. Today, technology is at such a point where if you have a good engineer, good musicians, like my production company, for example, um, we can produce music that's every bit as good as something that comes out of a big studio. But we're
Mm-hmm.
not paying the two, three, $400, $500 an hour to be recording in that studio. The studio that the label would have to pay for, and that's a good reason why they don't want you making art so fast.
Yeah. And that's a pretty exciting phenomenon in the industry that you identified there, that I think a lot of young folks don't appreciate because they've grown up in this world. But, it used to be, if you were going to make an album that was good enough quality to be on the radio, it required a really expensive studio and 6 figures worth of expenses. But I remember, like, the turning point for me came about 10 years ago or so. I'm watching the Grammy pre-telecast awards, and a Break the Business guest named Tim Kubart won the Grammy for Best Children's Album. And he got up on stage and he told everybody that, he said, thank you for, I'm so excited to get this award. And I think it's so cool that I got this award with an album that I made on my laptop in my Brooklyn uh, studio apartment. And that was like the coolest thing I'd ever heard at the time, because
Yeah,
to me that was like the first moment where I was like, okay, we're in a new world now. And now Billie Eilish is doing the same thing, winning album of the year with like an album that she and her brother made like at their home. I mean, 10 years ago that was wild to me. Now it's the norm. And that's a very democratizing development in music, where you can make great albums at your home. You don't need these expensive studios anymore.
uh, so true, so true. Um, what should musicians know about publishing before releasing a song?
So, 2 things I would say in that regard. One, understanding that publishing deals with major publishers can work very similarly to record deals. And then if you sign the wrong publishing deal, you can lose a big chunk of your songwriting copyrights. And, you want to be careful with that. Make sure you have a lawyer look at your publishing deal. The other side of it is if you're going to self-publish, there's some things that you have to do to make sure you're getting all the royalties that you're entitled to. You need to make sure that you're
like
signed.
the MLC or
Yep. You got to make sure you have a PRO like ASCAP or BMI or
yep,
CSAC to
ASCAP,
collect your performance
BMI, yep.
royalties. Make sure you're signed up with the MLC to get your mechanical royalties. You can either do that directly to get your mechanicals, or you can go
It's
through.
fine. It's a pain in the ass. I got to tell you.
Well, and that's why for a lot of artists, I have them work with publishing administrators that can handle getting the MLC stuff set up for them. But even when you work with an administrator, you're right. It is frustrating, right? You have all these different platforms. They don't talk to each other. None of it seems like it's very well computerized. It can take months to get everything reconciled, particularly if you write something with a bunch of other writers who have their own publishers. It's frustrating. And I'm still waiting for some tech company in all their brilliance to come up with some solution that doesn't make this so hard. But so far, we're not there yet for all of the great computer brilliance we have in this world.
Mhm. In your experience, are artists becoming more educated about intellectual property, or are most still vulnerable? And I think I know the answer to this.
I mean, they are getting smarter about this stuff, but there is still a big, big gap. And
Yeah.
while the knowledge is able to spread faster than it ever has, I think the misconceptions are able to spread faster than they ever had too, right? There are, bad information can spread just as quickly as good information on the internet. And so lawyers like me have to work double time to make sure that artists don't have those misconceptions about IP in their head. There are still a lot of artists out there who think that mailing a piece of music that they wrote to themselves is just as good
Yeah,
as
right.
registering a copyright with the Copyright Office. And if I can make a quick public service announcement here, it's not. There is only one way to fully protect your copyrighted musical material, and that is by registering it with the Copyright Office. You don't need a copyright registration to have a copyright, but if you actually want to be able to protect those rights and get attorney's fees if somebody steals your music and get statutory damages if somebody steals your music, you have to register it with the government. And
What's the easiest way to register your intellectual property with the Copyright Office?
well, there's a couple approaches here. You can hire lawyers like me to do it. I actually just registered a couple copyrights
Well,
this
okay, so a
morning.
guy like me that has 135 songs, um, how much money do I have to dedicate to get? Maybe I don't want to copyright all 130 songs. I don't
Sure.
know.
I mean, if you have the budget for it, my recommendation is always to register your copyright in everything you've created. But if you are working on a budget, then you'll want to triage and prioritize the stuff that's out there, the stuff that is getting traction, the stuff that you definitely if you're licensing something for a sync project or something, that's the stuff you want to prioritize because that's the stuff that has the highest risk of getting infringed. Somebody stealing your work, and so maybe you focus on the more high value work first, but you ultimately want to work toward registering as much of your work as you can. And you can
Um,
do it through a lawyer. You can try to do it yourself if you can learn how to do it. There's also some tech solutions out there. There's a platform called Cosigned. That's COSYND. That's a platform out there that helps artists with copyright registration. And so that's an option as well if you're looking for sort of a hybrid approach between doing it yourself and hiring a lawyer to do it.
how much do they charge?
It's probably like $100 for like an application or whatever the Copyright Office charges, like 50, 60, $80 for a filing. You probably want to double that if you're working with Cosign.
Is that a filing per song, or can you file multiple songs per filing?
It depends on the type of music, right? So let's say and when you're trying to register it. If you haven't published your music yet, like let's say you just recorded 12 songs, you haven't published it yet, you can register up to 10 songs, including both the musical composition and the sound recordings in a single filing for one time fee of like $80 or something like that. If it's stuff that you released after the fact, it's a little trickier. If you released it all on a single album of music, you can usually register the whole album together as one chunk. But if you release them as singles and they're not part of a full album of music, and you've already published it, you might have to register them one at a time, which is going to cost you like $65 for each of the filings. So it depends on if and when you published it, and whether or not you published it as a full album or as individual singles. But
Yeah,
every
I'm in
case is
trouble.
different, and you should talk to a lawyer.
I need to talk to a lawyer, Ryan, because I got to admit I've never copywritten any of my stuff, so I better get on it. I think.
I'd recommend that, particularly for the stuff that I know you have that's getting a lot of traction. Certainly anything that you have used for sync projects. Here's kind of the scary scenario, all right, when you don't register. Let's say somebody puts your song in a movie without your permission, right?
Sure.
And doesn't get your approval, and they've infringed your copyright. And so you sue them. Well, here are the challenges you're going to run into on the front end if you haven't registered your work. One of the challenges is you have to hire a lawyer to fight in that case. And if you don't register your work before somebody steals it, that lawyer can't get attorney's fees if they win, which means you have to pay that lawyer's fee.
Yeah, so one of the legs of the three-legged chair is kicked out from under you right there.
That's right. So it's going to be harder to find a lawyer to fight your case. The other thing you don't get statutory damages, right? The Copyright Act specifically lists the damages that you are entitled to if you win, which makes it a lot easier to prove damages, but you can only get those statutory damages if you've registered your copyright. So instead of statutory damages, you have to prove actual damages. You have to prove the actual economic harm you suffered, which can be very difficult to prove. And so you take away those two things right there, and all of a sudden you have a far more difficult copyright case, even though somebody has stolen your work.
Boy.
It's basically the government wants to encourage people to register copyrights because it makes things a lot easier for the government in terms of knowing who owns what. And though you're not required to register a copyright to have a copyright, without that registration, you miss out on a lot of really valuable legal benefits.
All right, after this, you and I are going to talk about copyrighting my catalog, definitely.
Happy to help. And thankfully there have been some advancements in the last few years for music that's already been published, where if you release stuff as a full album, you can often register multiple tracks together at the same time and save a little bit of money. So yeah, you might be able to take advantage of some of those options. It's called a gram registration, a group registration of an album of music. And, you might be able to save a little bit on fees there, but it's really important. And I think a lot of artists are afraid of copyright registration because they think, oh my God, it's so much paperwork. And, it's a little bit of paperwork, but unlike many things that are involved
but there's
with
a
the
lot
government,
more paperwork if somebody steals your work. So
absolutely. Oh, and by the way, if somebody steals your work, one of the prerequisites to being able to file a lawsuit is you have to register the copyright. So you're going to have to do it anyway. So you might as well do it before your work gets stolen so you get all of those really important legal benefits.
Well, so far, nothing of mine has been stolen, so I think now is the time. So
well,
we'll deal with that. How important is it for artists to think of themselves as entrepreneurs and not just performers? We've touched on this, but let's go a little deeper.
I mean, now more than ever, that has to be the way that you operate. I mean, if you truly embrace being independent, it means that you aren't just a creative person, you are a business person too. You have to, you are the CEO of a company, whether you like it or not, right? Even if you haven't formed a corporation or an LLC or anything like that, you're still the CEO of what the law would consider a sole proprietorship. You are a business person, whether you set out to be or not, and you have to use those entrepreneurial skills. Now, the good news is, at least in my experience, a lot of these creative professionals have some naturally good business skills. They are by nature creative people, and often they can use those creative skills to come up with creative ways to go about business.
In asymmetrical ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the more that you can see the business side of it as just one more opportunity to be creative, the more that you'll actually enjoy it. Because I know a lot of my clients are good at this. And they always said, like, oh, I never thought I'd be a business person. I never set out to be a business person, but I really like doing the marketing for my career. I really like coming up with ways to get my music out there in ways that I might not have thought of. And it can be a very fulfilling experience.
One of the questions I was going to ask you, we already answered, which is what legal protections should every independent creator have in place right now? And I think it's copyright, isn't it?
Copyright's a really, really important one.
Yeah.
Another
So,
one that can be important is if you're if your career is starting to get some traction, you might want to form some kind of formal business structure, whether it's a limited
well,
liability
for instance,
company.
I've got an LLC for my music business.
Yeah. And that's important. The first two letters in LLC are limited liability, which is a
Right.
very important thing to have as an artist, right? That corporate structure, that LLC structure, puts a wall of separation between you and your personal assets and the activities of your company. So imagine, for example, your LLC sets up a show, right? And you're doing a show at a venue and you're building stages and everything, and then suddenly during the show, like a stage light falls on somebody's head, and it wasn't your fault, right? It was some employee who didn't install the light correctly, but you get sued,
Yep.
and they're going to sue your LLC. But if you have an LLC,
And
you
do
can
I have
protect
this
your
right?
personal
You're only
assets.
liable for the amount of investment you have in the company.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that limited liability entity and they're suing you in your personal capacity, all of your
They could
assets could be vulnerable.
your home for crying out loud.
Well, it depends on the state you're in. Here in Florida, we have a homestead exemption, so the home that you live in is actually protected from creditors. But
From
that's the
homestead,
only
yeah.
thing.
Okay. Um,
Um,
uh,
but like your cars, your bank accounts, retirement accounts, all that stuff could be vulnerable.
yeah, yeah. Um, you show Break the Business has become a real educational platform for creators. What inspired you to start it?
Um, Running out of hours in the day, I would say. When I pretty early in my career, I wrote the Break the Business book that you so kindly talked about in the intro there. And one of the things that happened when I put that book out is I started getting a lot of emails from artists who had follow-up questions about some of the stuff in that book. And pretty soon the emails got so frequent, I didn't have time to respond to all of them while still doing my day job. And so I said, well, let's do some podcasting. I've done a little bit of podcasting
Aren't
in
you
the
like
past.
385 episodes in now?
I think we're up to like five something now, 516 or
Wow.
five. Yeah,
Wow.
we've been at this since 2015.
Wow.
And it's been awesome. And it started off as just like this little show that I did, and just podcasting, and then it's then Sirius. We got the Sirius XM opportunity, and we got to be on Volume.com and doing the live stream. And this is a show that it's just been word of mouth and fans talking to each other. We don't do much on social media. Like I don't take a lot of my own advice on growing my podcast in terms of the advice we give to artists. It's very much just a hobby. I don't have any advertisers. I do it as a public service because I couldn't respond to all those emails 10 years ago. I didn't have time. And so we created a podcast where people could get informed about the industry.
That's fantastic and big heart, man.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
do you see a gap in artist education that mainstream media wasn't addressing?
I definitely, there are still some big gaps there. Not as big as there used to be, right? Because again, with YouTube and podcasts like mine and shows like yours, there is more education out there than there's ever been. So I don't think there's a lack of people talking about this. I think where we see the gaps is the fact that everything's just changing so fast. And, it's hard for even people like you and me to keep up. I mean, and you would think for a lot of artists that like, okay, the solution is I should go to college, maybe get a music business degree. And though I think there are some great music business programs out there, even some of those programs are a few years behind. Oftentimes, the students sitting in that classroom know more about the current music industry than their professors do, because the professors have been out of the game for a few years, and at least the artists are still working in the industry. So they're often teaching the professors the latest developments.
Well, Ryan, it's been almost a full hour now, and you've been This is probably going to be one of my highest views podcasts and YouTube interviews that I've done, certainly in the last couple of years. So we're going to go into rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you a question, and you've got 3 seconds to give me a single word or 2-word answer. Are you ready?
Oh my goodness. You're asking a lawyer to be brief. This should be interesting. I'll
Vinyl
try my
or
best.
streaming?
Say again?
Vinyl or streaming?
Oh, vinyl. So cool.
Okay, I was expecting you to say the opposite. Best concert you've ever attended?
Oh my God. This is going to be such a nerdy answer, but I stand by it. I took my wife to see the Backstreet Boys in concert a few years ago, and it was our first concert, and it was just such a fun experience, and I just remember it so fondly for how happy it made her. And those guys brought it.
All right. Blue Bloods. What's the guy in Blue Bloods now in Boston Blue?
Oh, Donnie Wahlberg?
Donnie Wahlberg. Which group was he in?
Well, he's New Kids on the Block.
The New Kids on the Block. Okay. One music business myth you'd erase forever.
The poor man's copyright. The idea that that mailing music to yourself is just as good as registering a copyright. Huge myth. Got to get rid of it.
That's good to know, everybody. One trait every successful artist must have.
Grit.
That came up earlier in our discussion, and I think this is a big lesson to learn. Favorite legal drama, realistic or not?
Oh man, I'm gonna go a little bit back on this one, but Boston Legal.
My favorite too.
There you go.
If you weren't an attorney, what would you be?
Teacher. I mean, which isn't really fair because I am a college professor in a couple schools, but I would do it full time. Like I tell people, like if it didn't pay so poorly, I would absolutely teach. I love it.
Most underrated skill for an independent musician.
Most underrated skill?
Yeah.
Oh man. I can't say grit again.
Well, you can say entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Entrepreneurial skills, so critical, more than it's ever been.
One piece of advice you wish every young creator could hear.
And
you can't use copyright.
No, it would be to keep your creation consistent. Don't just make an album every 2 years and then disappear. You can't let people have a chance to forget about it.
Be like me, release a new song every week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's an artist named Jonathan Mann who I've had on my show a few times who actually made the theme song for Break the Business. He's the Guinness World Record holder for most consecutive days writing a song. He's been doing it for over 8,000 days now.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, no, he's awesome.
Who is this?
Jonathan Mann.
Jonathan Mann.
I'm not even joking. He's literally the Guinness World Record holder for most consecutive days writing a song.
All right. When artists finish reading, we're done with rapid fire. Okay. Just a few follow-up questions. When artists finish reading Break the Business, what do you hope they walk away with believing?
In themselves. I mean, I think so many creators, we give them a sense of learned helplessness, that they're victims in this industry, that the deck is stacked against them, that they can't achieve because of all these factors beyond their control. And those things can be true in the sense that, yeah, it's hard. And yeah, the deck can often be stacked against you, but you have agency in this and you can absolutely break through. And it's not easy, but it's possible. And if you learn the ins and outs of this industry and you work hard and you have grit, it's more possible than it's ever been.
Okay. I hope you're right, because like I say, I've got 20 years left. Let's let you plug your website, SiriusXM, podcast, social media, your book again, YouTube if you have it. Let's have you plug everything you got going.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. Yeah, if you search Break the Business, you'll find me on all the platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on every major podcast platform. You go to Sirius XM 145 and you can Slam Radio, and you can find us on Monday nights there on volume.com, our main live streaming partner. Those people are awesome. And while you're checking out Break the Business, there's a lot of great programs on volume.com that you can check out, especially if you're a music aficionado. We are just one of many terrific programs that you can enjoy there. Break the Business, Declaring Your Independence and Achieving True Success in the Music Industry. It's available in ebook, in paperback, and if you're not tired of my voice, there's an audiobook, and you can check that one out as well.
Oh, that's just fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me and Ryan, and check the description below. Make sure you leave comments if you have any questions for Ryan. I will try to get him to answer them if he has time. And Ryan, you've been absolutely sensational. I hope to have you back someday.
You just let me know when. This has been a real pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to your fans.
All right, Ryan. We're going to sign off. See you everybody on the next one.